Hello, today's video is by request from one of my subscribers, Louis Williams, who has asked me to do a talk about how I maintain. So I lost 7.5 stone about 4 years ago now with Cambridge Weight Plan. I'm 51 now, and for the first time ever I've maintained my weight loss for the last 4 years. Never ever done it before, ever. And I put that down to numerous things, but the main one is that with Cambridge Weight Plan you get one-to-one support with your consultant, and that process helped me to unpick what my issues were around food and how I was using food for other than fuel. So, maintenance. How have I done it this time? I've broken it down, Louis, into three different categories. I could write a book about maintenance, and what I would say is that it's a constantly ongoing process for me. I am always tweaking and always being aware. So the very, very first thing I would say before I go into the three categories are the most important thing is to keep that self-awareness going all the time. Now, some people have very strong views about the scales, and I know of people who've lost weight and get very hung up on them and what the number on the scales say, and I have to say I agree in some ways, but that awareness still needs to be kept up. So the people who chuck away the scales and don't want to be fixated on a number, those who are successful are often those who use something else as a guide to stop them going into denial and just to keep that self-awareness going. So I guess ideally clothes, or when you look in the mirror, how do you feel, that sort of thing. I think I use a combination of both. I still need that sense of security of a number on the scales, and I don't know what that says about me, but I do, and I like to see my weight kept within a certain range. So that self-awareness is so important, to not go back into denial. I say denial, but in all the previous times that I put on weight in the past, I'd always lose the weight, whatever diet I did, and I've done them all, but I would always go back into denial. But I wasn't really in denial. I knew, we know, don't we, when we're getting overweight, we feel uncomfortable and all those bad feelings that come into play. So I wasn't in denial, but I was in denial about the facts, and I know that that is a tendency of mine, and I know it's a tendency of mine with regards to maintenance as well. So self-awareness is, I think, the most crucial thing. Being aware of exactly what your weight is doing, be it using clothes, or be it the scales, or the mirror, or whatever it is it's going to be for you. So that's the number one most crucial thing, is keep that self-awareness going. I think of maintenance as, it's not maintenance, the very word implies that you maintain exactly the same weight all the time, and I think that's a really unhelpful thing to think of, because I don't. I have a boundary, which I'll talk about in a minute, and for me maintenance means maintaining an awareness of where I am with my weight, and having that sort of mentality has really helped, and keeping that self-awareness going, and also being kind to myself and not beating myself up if the numbers do go up a bit, or if I do break that maintenance plan, whatever it is. Even the word break implies a negative connotation, doesn't it? There are times when I just want to revert to type and eat whatever I want whenever I want it. And if I do it, I just try to be kind to myself. There is always a reason why, which leads me on to the three categories. So my three categories in maintenance, and I may end up having to do a different video for each one thinking about it, because I'm already at 4 minutes and this is kind of like an introduction, and I don't want to waffle on too long, because I know people don't watch if you waffle on too long. So my three categories are the actual what do I eat, the practicalities of what do I eat, what do I put in my mouth, and how do I maintain that way. The second category is my mindset. How do I keep that mindset going so that I keep maintaining, and I don't just use that, I do just use food for fuel, and that I don't slip into denial and use it for things other than fuel, which is how I put on weight in the past. And the third category is just the practical measures as to how I put those two things into play. So I think probably what I'll do is this video I will talk about the first thing, which is what do I eat, and then I'll do a couple more videos for you, Louis, in the coming weeks about the other two categories. So what do I eat? So the first thing is to have some sort of plan in place depending on what my weight is doing. So for me, what I do is I weigh myself a couple of times a week. I always weigh myself on a Tuesday morning, and I always weigh myself on a Saturday morning, and there's a reason for that. For me, you don't have to do this, but this is what works for me, and you've got the key for this is working out what is going to be acceptable for you. What are the rules that you need to put in place? Because you're going to have to put some in place to maintain. You can't just go back into eating whatever you want whenever you want it, which means no rules. So my rules are, for me, this is what, over trial and error over the last 4 years, is what works for me. What I do is I have a fast day on a Monday. It's always on a Monday, no matter what is happening, I make that my fast day. And I don't mean I don't eat anything. What I do is I have about 600 to 800 calories a day on my fast day. And I tend to wait until about lunchtime, and then I'll have a measured amount of porridge, because the oats keep me really full for a long time, with a little bit of fruit compote that I've sweetened with a sweetener. And although I try not to use sweeteners because I don't really like the chemicals in them, on my fast day I will, because I can't really tolerate it without any sugar, and I don't want to use sugar because I find that introducing too much sugar or refined carbohydrates into my diet makes me lose control. And there's a very chemical reason why that happens, and I think I've talked about that in a previous video. So I don't go above 600 to 800 calories. I choose Monday for several reasons. Monday is a client day because I'm a Cambridge Rate Plan consultant myself now, and I have pretty much back-to-back clients all Monday, so I'm very busy, which is important to keep me distracted from the food. It puts a full stop to the weekends for me, because one of my other rules, if you like, which is a bit of a bizarre rule, this one, is if I have too many rules, I rebel. There's a little girl inside of me that stamps her foot and says, I don't want to keep doing this, there's too many rules in place, and I just rebel. So I've learned from bitter experience that if I'm too strict with myself, I don't stick to that either. So one of my rules is that Saturday and Sunday I'll allow myself to eat whatever I want. If I wanted to eat a whole load of popcorn at a whole great big one of those at the cinema, I would. If I wanted to eat endless bread, I would. If I wanted to eat sweets, I would. But what I find now is I say to myself that there are consequences to whatever choices I make. And if I go and eat the whole load of popcorn and the whole load of sweets and all the bread I want, etc., 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 the consequences for me are that I lose control, I get hungry, I eat more, and I put on weight. And so I will ask myself all the time at the weekends, is this worth it? So as I'm faced with something like popcorn, say, I'll say to myself, is it worth it? Is this really, really worth the fact that you're going to lose control because my blood sugar levels rise, my insulin levels rise, and then because of what I'm eating, my blood sugar levels plummet again, and I'm left ravenous and grumpy and all those things that go with low blood sugar. So it has to really be worth it, I find, because I will jump on the scales on Tuesday morning after my fast day, and I'll be, well, how much will I see it go up by? If it's gone up a lot, because of whatever I've chosen to eat over the weekend, then I will immediately have a second fast day later on in the week. It's normally a Thursday. It varies for me depending on what I'm doing, but it's usually a Thursday. Today's a Thursday, and I'm on a second fast day because I had a lot of unplanned social eating at the weekend, which the consequences are my weight went up a little bit, and that's fine, because now today I'm having another fast day, and by Saturday morning when I get back on the scales, it should be down again into my boundary. So my boundary is I like to be at the lower end of a healthy BMI because I get too anxious at the top end, so I keep it a range of about 12 pounds. So what do I eat within this? So fast days I have on a Monday always. Occasionally I'll have a second one like I have this week. I'll have porridge at lunchtime, and then I will have a piece of, say, salmon or cod with some small amount of vegetables, and basically an equivalent of step two meal if you know Cambridge at all. And I also have a milky coffee because I love my coffee, absolutely love my coffee. And so that kind of combined is about 600 to 800 calories, depending on how much milk I use in my coffee, how much porridge oats I have. But I monitor it and I measure it, and I do it that way. I don't have to calorie count anymore, but I'll always measure. And then if I'm not having a second fast day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I don't go above about 1,000 calories. And although that sounds really strict, there's a reason for that, and that's because I've worked out what my TDEE is for my age and my gender and my current weight and my height and my activity levels. And for me, because I'm an older woman and I'm only 5'2", and my weight is normally around between 8 and 8.5 stone. I have quite a low TDEE. For those of you who don't know what TDEE is, it stands for total daily energy expenditure, and that's how much calories I will burn just to maintain my weight. And for me, it's about 1,300 calories a day. So if I'm going to allow myself to eat whatever I want at the weekends, then I need to have a little bit of extra calories. And so those 4 days when I only have 1,000 calories a day, that gives me an extra 600 calories a day on Saturday and Sunday, plus whatever extra I've got from my fast days. And sometimes the fast days are simply to balance out the previous week's eating, but if my weight's been okay that week, then that gives me a little bit of extra calories. I don't particularly calorie count at all anymore. I used to keep a good eye on what exactly portion sizes were, and I think that's an important thing to do, just to educate yourself really. So 1,000 calories a day, Monday to Friday, Tuesday to Friday rather, and for that I will eat yogurt. I keep it very low carb, no carb really, not no carb, low carb Monday to Friday, because it makes me lose control if I eat too many refined carbs, that is. So I will have something like yogurt and fruit for, and maybe tiny little sprinkling just for a bit of crunch of granola, or I might have a smoothie, but I'll make it with yogurt and a bit of fruit and avocado and spinach in it, and I'll put some cacao powder in. It's delicious. That's thanks to Jackie Perez, a local nutritionist, gave me that recipe, and it's sublime. And then I'll only eat when I'm hungry. So if I start getting a bit peckish, then depending on timings and proximity to dinner, then I might have a bit of miso soup, or an apple, or something very light like that. I don't tend to have a heavy lunch, and I'll postpone for as long as I can breakfast, because I find that works really well for me. Otherwise, if I get breakfast over and done with too soon, then I start to think, oh, I've only got one meal left, and it's just a mindset thing. That's what works for me. So I'll often have that yogurt and fruit, or even some more porridge, or some scrambled eggs and smoked salmon, or some scrambled eggs and bacon. I'll have that as well for breakfast, and I'll have them I'll have it as late as possible. So even 12 or 1. So today is Thursday, and I'm having a fast day. And at what's time now? It's 20 to 3. So at about 1 o'clock, I had some oats, and that works for me. And I know that I've got only a few hours till bedtime, but I've still got a meal to fit in. And the meals will be fish, chicken, vegetables. I keep it very simple. I don't go too crazy with recipes or anything like that. Some people like to do that. I can't be bothered. I've got too much else going on, and I just can't be bothered to do that. But I've got 3 children, and so I have to factor in their needs as well. And I can't be doing 2 different sets of meals, or even 3 if hubby doesn't fancy what's what, or if he doesn't fancy what's what. It's tough now. I used to make special things, but I don't anymore, because it's important that I look after myself as well. But that's another video. So I will do something like a chicken Caesar salad. But for the boys, I will put in maybe some new boiled potatoes and some baguette on the side, and I'll just have the salad and chicken with I don't really like processed stuff very much, and I love a really good quality balsamic vinegar or squirt of lemon juice, something like that. I will have stir-fried prawns with some vegetables, and for the boys I'll mix through noodles and maybe some rice crackers or something like that to go with it, just so they get the extra carbs, because they need it. But me, I don't need it. And So it's that sort of thing. I might have a piece of salmon with possibly some tomato sauce on the side, and some vegetables again. The boys, I might put rice with it, or jacket potato, that sort of thing. So it's dead easy. I'm not doing anything special for them or me. It's just I keep out the carbs. And then, so that's kind of what I eat. And then at the weekends, I will kind of eat whatever I want. Bruce and I, my husband and I, we will have breakfast out every Saturday after my cello lesson. And it's a tradition we've got into now, which we both absolutely love. And what I have depends on what I fancy. Sometimes it's scrambled eggs with smoked salmon. Sometimes it's yogurt and granola and fruit. Sometimes it's porridge. It's whatever I fancy, really. If I wanted to have the full English, I would. But I just find that I don't want it enough to face the consequences of what that might mean. And hubby always cooks a lovely meal on Saturday evenings, and I'd rather enjoy that. So that's what I do. So that's what I eat. And I'm already up to 16 minutes now, so I must stop because you won't have watched to the end otherwise. Hope that's helped, and I'll do another couple of videos later on about mindset and maintenance and the practical measures of maintenance. Okay,